Hi, my question's for Malcolm Roberts. I'd like you to explain the purpose of the American trip that James Ashby and Steve Dixon took to woo the NRA hierarchy with their caps in hand. And I'd also like to know what your stance on Australia's gun control laws are, and do you support watering them down as was portrayed in the hidden camera footage?
Let's take your last question first. No, we do not support that, and Pauline Hanson has said that quite clearly. The purpose was to...
I'm just going to jump in there because it's an important clarification that I think a lot of people in the room, including me, actually wanted to hear. So should one nation ever be able to be in a position to influence this, one nation doesn't want to see any change to Australia's gun laws. We
didn't say that. We said we don't want to water it down. Now, the first thing...
Do you want to see a change?
I want to see improvements to the gun laws. The first and
what's
foremost...
that?
I'm getting to that, Virginia.
No, we're going to
I'm getting to that, Virginia.
Clarify that.
So, Belinda, the first thing is our gun law, our firearms policy actually states right now that we want to toughen gun laws insofar as they are controlling criminals who use guns. We want to make it harder for terrorists and criminals to get guns. We want to make it easier and more encouraging for good, responsible shooters to actually access the firearms paperwork. We want to make sure that people who earn a living or who use guns as part of a trade, such as culling feral animals, they are able to do it more safely.
So you do want to water down the gun laws?
Hang on, Virginia. We don't want to see the automatic weapons coming in. We don't want to see any extension to the semi-automatics. They're already allowed here. And the last one is that we want to see encouragement for sporting shooters, because Australia has excelled in that for many, many years, whether it be Olympics, Commonwealth Games or international
Well,
titles.
let me go back to the Speaker. Belinda, my interpretation of that, I'm not getting much of it in here, but seems to be some sort of change that does actually allow more access to others. Is that how you interpret it?
That's how I interpret it.
Well, that's definitely not the case, and I'd like to know how you can see that is a
That's Belinda's
down.
interpretation. She
that's
doesn't
correct.
have to
No, I'm
speak
making
to that.
clear there's no watering down.
There's
whatsoever.
no watering
We're making
down.
it harder, Virginia, for people to access guns if they're criminals. And we're
but not for sporting shooters and not for others.
Correct.
So some watering down. Okay.
And the data... Now, hang on. How is not making it easier or watering down, Virginia? That's a misrepresentation of what I just said.
In relation to criminals it is, but not the other part of it.
No, it is a misrepresentation because I did not say that we were watering it down.
Let's go back to the first part of the question, which hasn't been answered, which was, what was the purpose of going to America?
The purpose of going to America, quite clearly, as James Ashby said, was to learn campaigning tactics from various groups in America. And that's it. And they did not seek any funding. And by the way, the Liberal Party and Labor Party... Hang on, Virginia, you're interrupting me again.
No, I'm the host of the program, Malcolm Roberts.
That doesn't give you... I'm a guest. And you can look at me any way you want.
No, it's my task to keep you on task.
That's fine, and I'm on task. Now, the Liberal Party and Labor Party bring in foreigners onto
They saw you soliciting money from the NRA.
The Liberal Party and Labor Party bring onto their staff foreigners to teach them campaign tactics.
We don't go to the US and ask the NRA for $20 million.
And we didn't do that either, Terry. We did not do that. And what we want to see, we have asked Al Jazeera for a full disclosure of all the videos. That's how open and honest we are. We've made a complaint to ASIO and to the Australian Federal Police.
We're aware of that, but I'm taking
disclosure so that people can see
Malcolm
things
Roberts,
in context.
I'm taking you back to the question. The journalists will have to answer for what they do. The question for you is what the purpose was.
And we saw that.
But I think our eyes showed us something else and our ears did too when we watched it. No?
That's why I said we want full revealing of all of the video camera footage, because it was taken out of context. You saw them talking about something in a group, in a trio, actually, in a bar, when they were well lubricated, and that was done by that spy. And now that does not excuse the behaviour, particularly of Steve. He's very embarrassed. He's very concerned about what he said, and so he should be. Pauline Hanson herself said that she was disgusted until she saw her own comments taken out of context and misrepresented.
All right, well, I think everyone knows what they saw and they heard, but it's probably a good time to mention this now, because if you hear any doubtful claims on Q&A, you can let us know on Twitter, and you can keep an eye on the RMIT ABC Fact Check and also the Conversation websites for the results. We fact check anything we possibly can on this program, and that applies to anyone who's on this panel. The next